Testing 1, 2, 3. We're on.
Do you know that I pray every night that he would escape?
What the hell did you do that for?
So I can kill him.
Dad, look out!
The bus crashed.
Mom, what bus crash?
Michael escaped. He's waited for this night. He's waited for me.
This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. A few hours ago I saw the remake of Halloween, and it was pretty good. Though before I go into any depth about it, being that the holiday is coming up in about a week or so, I think this is a great time to remove our masks. As I said, Halloween is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. Unlike with the reboot of The Predator, I should say, unlike the reboot of Predator, it doesn't overcomplicate its story, which is really important. It doesn't add a lot of plot threads and so on and so forth, that it becomes something not like the original. And that is so, so important, because this movie is relatively simple. It's not as simple as the original movie, but it is pretty simple plot-wise. Jason escapes, goes after Laurie Strode again. This is the plot, essentially. But where it shines is the nuance it brings to that plot. There are scenes that mimic the first movie, more like homages, if you will, and it's really well done. And these homages mimic everything from Season of the Witch, an underrated Carpenter movie, to what I thought were earlier movies in the Halloween canon. So it's kind of clever with the nods to other movies. Though, where I thought it shined was something it didn't do enough for me. The character of Laurie Strode, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, was really interesting, and the filmmaker did something that I've never quite seen before in a movie of this nature. They made, in a sense, not literally, they made her the shape, in the sense that her character had become so obsessed with Michael that it literally became her life. She stopped being a person and became more like Michael, a force of nature almost, driven to accomplish one particular goal: kill Michael. It became everything that she was. It literally possessed her, and there were scenes that echoed back to the first Halloween, but with Laurie Strode in it. And it was just so clever. It was just, it shocked me at how clever this was. But at the same time, it didn't go far enough. It went with this for a good part of its running time, and pretty much just abandoned the idea. And it was such a clever concept. If they would have taken it a little further, I think this movie would have went from, it was good, it's okay, to incredible. So, as I said, it's very good. Interesting ideas, great ideas, not quite executed fully. Though, what I found problematic was that some of the kills were silly. I mean, the movie's pretty grounded, except when it refers to some of these killings. They're just dumb. And I mean that in the sense of they're just over the top. And let's see, there's one, mild spoilers, in which he kills 2 cops. Now, the way he kills these cops, well, you see the result, I should say. You don't know, well, you know what he did, but you see the result of it. You don't actually see it happen. But when you see it, it's so absurd, and it's so cartoony. And the original Halloween was a lot of things, but cartoony wasn't one of them. So there are, off the top of my head, there are at least 2 instances of the silliest kills done by Michael. It was very much in the vein of, those 2 scenes primarily, they're very much in the vein of Friday the 13th and movies of that nature. Movies, ironically enough, inspired by the original Halloween. So it didn't take me out of the movie, but it was just so silly. And it wasn't necessary. The movie had actually toned down on some of the violence. I'm not saying get rid of it entirely. I mean, if you're going to be violent, this is a movie to be violent in. But tone it down. Don't make it so cartoony. Again, that police car scene is just so dopey. I mean, as a visual, it's interesting. But if you think about it for even a minute, it's just dumb. And I wish they hadn't done it. And as I said earlier, there are at least 2 of these scenes. And they don't take you out the movie, but they're just kind of like, why? It wasn't necessary to the narrative, and it certainly wasn't necessary for a movie that's a sequel to John Carpenter's Halloween. And speaking of Halloween, I think it bears saying that Halloween was, in many ways, not a great movie. I'm talking about the original movie, I believe 1978. The thing that makes Halloween, in my eyes, a good movie is that it's like a shark, if you will. It's very efficient. It knows what it is. It doesn't concern itself with anything other than doing what it has to do, and that's it. It's efficient. In the same way that I think John McTiernan's Predator is not necessarily a good movie. It's an efficient movie, and it works. Conversely, 2018's The Predator is not a good movie for exactly that reason. It doesn't know what it wants to be, it's not very efficient, and there are way too many subplots. The reboot of Halloween, remake, reboot, it's more of a reboot really. The reboot holds in common with the original, it knows what it is, and that's important. There are minimal of subplots. There are more subplots in the reboot, but there are not many more, and there are characters that come and go, so it's not really an issue. They don't linger, in other words. So I found Halloween pretty good, pretty scary, and worth the time. It has humor, but the humor, I've read comments online about how it's funny, and it's not funny. It's what I like to call situational humor. People say or do things that are funny because it's just a human thing. It's not anyone really cracking jokes. So the humor didn't bother me at all. Frankly, I would have preferred the original movie to have more of it. It's just people reacting. People acting like people. And when they do that, sometimes it's funny. So no issue with the humor at all. So in summary, the reboot of Halloween is really good, pretty suspenseful. It's a good horror movie. It's not a great horror movie because it's not willing to go far enough.